In this episode, we will talk about the incredible finding of Solomon's Gate just next to the Temple Mount. But in this episode, you will also see this.
Bottom of this wall, you can see some really big stones. Those are from Herod, and some of them even from an earlier period. So now you can see the Kidron Valley, how steep it is. This is the city of David that they found, the original Zion, where David had his palace, where he ruled. And just look how deep it goes. Just goes on and on. Very, very deep. We have another part of history. You know, it's like history upon history upon history. Originally, when it was built by Suleiman, this was a really small gate. Over here, what you see are the remains of a Roman destruction of the temple. So all those. Now this is a sight to see. You see all those holes in this gate, and this is the Jaffa gate.
So, just to recap what we saw in our previous episode, we started with the new gate and we went along the city walls. Then we saw the Damascus gate and the Herod gate. Then we began exploring the eastern side of the city walls. We saw the Lion's Gate and we finished with the Golden Gate. Today we'll continue our journey along the city walls and we'll end up in the Jaffa gate. So, let's move to the area where we finished last time, which is next to the Golden Gate. And we'll be moving along the eastern side of the Temple Mount. So, let's go!
Okay. So, we continue this path. And as we go this way, you'll see that the walls get higher and higher. And that's because the level of this hill will descend, will decrease. So once again on our left we can see the beautiful view of Mount of Olives. So on one side, on this side we have the Muslim cemetery, and on the other side is the Jewish cemetery. And the significance of this cemetery is that it was built much later. It doesn't have ancient roots like the Jewish cemetery, which has been there since the first temple period. So ancient kings, rulers were buried over there on Mount of Olives, and you'll see some ancient graves in a moment. But this cemetery was built much later, in Ottoman times. And some say it was built to prevent this Messiah from coming, because the Messiah, as a good Jew, would not go through a cemetery to enter a holy place, which is the Temple Mount. Of course, this is wishful thinking, because the Messiah will step down on that hill and everybody will resurrect. The Messiah has power over death, so it doesn't matter. He can make dead things alive and make unclean, make clean. So it's a little bit insane that they think that this is going to prevent the Jewish Messiah from entering the Temple Mount. But it also shows you that they take it seriously, that they take the prophecies quite seriously and think that just in case, let's make sure we do something about it. Of course, it's not going to help. So, you see some of the tombs over there. Now you can see the bigger ones, like the Pillar of Absalom. That's not it. The Pillar of Absalom is over there, but there's also the the other tombs that are quite large, and they are from Second Temple period already and after. So, and that road over there, that's the road on the Kidron Valley, and it goes way down to the pool of Siloam. So look now at the walls, and you can see how tall they are. They're getting taller and taller, and that's because this mountain level height is decreasing. So at the bottom of this wall you can see some really big stones. Those are from Herod, and some of them even from an earlier period. So you see that some of the parts of the walls were repaired. You see the new bricks, new stones, and some of the anchors to hold this wall, because this part got pretty unstable. And you also, what you will see here is quite interesting, because this temple platform was never expanded this way to the east, because you have the valley, so you can't really expand in that direction. But it was expanded to its south, so in that direction. And you can see here kind of like a line, like a adjacent to the original wall. That is the addition that was added to the Temple Mount during the Hashmonean period. So they added another part of the temple platform to extend it to the south. So you can clearly see like a line here, especially if I go here, you'll see the line quite quickly. And there is another clear line here, and that's already an expansion made by Herod the Great. Herod the Great expanded the temple platform not only to the south, but also to the west and to the north, so that way. So the temple platform got bigger and bigger.
Okay guys, so let me explain what I mean. Here you can see a model of the modern Temple Mount. If we put the original temple platform built by Solomon, so that's 500 cubits by 500 cubits, on top of that model, it would look something like this. Now, what you can clearly see is that the modern Temple Mount is much bigger than the original temple platform built by Solomon. And that's because of the additions I was speaking about. So after the second temple was built, so in the times of Nehemiah and Ezra, the Hashmoneans expanded the temple platform to the south. So here, once again, you can see this expansion on the modern temple platform. So you see the original platform and the extension. But a much larger expansion happened during Herod's time. And the foundations of the walls you see today are remains of this giant expansion made by Herod the Great. Okay, we got this covered, so let's go back to the video.
And you can see how tall this platform is from this perspective. It's pretty tall. Some of the highest parts of the temple platform are from the south. That's because the mountain here is the lowest. So you had to make the level of the temple platform, level. You had to make it much higher. So we're finishing here the eastern part of the wall, let's say, and the temple platform is part of the wall. And now we're moving towards the southern part of the temple. So we will see today 8 gates, but there will be a bonus gate that I will also show you. A ninth hidden gate. So another map here to show us where we are. And again, this is already the southern part of the Temple Mount, and also the wall, because I'll show you on this picture what I mean. So once again, we started here, we went to the Damascus Gate, then Herod's Gate, then we went to Lion's Gate. Now we were next to the Golden Gate, the Eastern Gate, the Shushan Gate, that is sometimes called, it's also called the Gate of Mercy sometimes. So as you see, the wall is here, goes like that, but then it joins with the Temple Mount. This part of the Temple Mount is the wall, and we walked next to it. This is where we are now. So right on the edge over here. So we will walk now next to this part, which is also part of the Temple Mount. And there will be like a wall sticking out of the Temple Mount, and we'll continue and we'll go through the Dung Gate. So that's the next gate we will see, but there will be a bonus on our way. So let's continue. But first, one more look at the Kidron Valley. So now you can see the Kidron Valley, how steep it is. And that's the Mount of Olives over here. So you could actually go down to the Kidron Valley this way if we would follow. You can go down and walk this path. It's not too warm today, so it's possible to do it, but it can get really, really warm there when it's very high temperatures. So over there at the bottom, like if we look in that direction, you can see the city of David, and that's where it is now. As I am pointing my finger, that's the city of David. And behind it, below, at the bottom of the Kidron Valley, you have the pool of Siloam, and the Kidron Valley joins the Hinnom Valley, which goes around the western mountain. So if we would continue down, we would end up in the Kidron Valley. But we'll not do that, because today we are focusing on the gates. So once again, a look at the southern part of the Temple Mount, and you can already see there, that's the Al-Aqsa Mosque, and if we would follow that direction, there's the Dome of the Rock in the middle. We can't see it from here. So behind this fence, you can see here like a modern fence. Behind here there is a lot of stuff. It's like a mosaic of archaeology. This is the so-called Davidson Center, and it's very interesting because you have findings from the first temple, you have findings from the Second Temple, you have findings from Roman times, You have findings from Byzantine, you have findings from Muslim, so Mamluk, and of course later periods. So it's quite an interesting place. You can go there, it's closed today because it's Shabbat, but the bonus I wanted you to show is right in front of us now. So what you see here are in the distance 3 arches, and those arches are part of a gate complex that functioned in the second temple, and it was called the Huldah gates. So you had 3 arches you see here, and there is also 1 arch which will be visible in a moment, but there should be more. There should be actually 3, I mean, it's not actually visible from here. So it's right next to this kind of wall that sticks out of the Temple Mount. That's, you'll have like 2 other arches there, and there's even a lintel on it. So I'll show you some picture of it. I'll add it to this video so you can see how it looks from a different perspective.
Okay guys, so just to give you an understanding what I'm talking about, here is a shot showing you the Huldah Gates arches. This was the main entrance from the south to the Temple Mount. So this is where I'm standing as we tour around the walls. And in the distance over there, we have the city of David. And here you can see the other arch I was talking about that we couldn't see. So this is another passage that would lead from this location to the Temple Mount. So you see the stones, and in the corner now there is like a half gate that you can see, and there were 2 of those. One of them is totally invisible because of the wall that is covering. So here's my 3D render of Herod's temple looking from the south. So now you can see the 2 gate systems, the 3 gate system and the 2 gate system. One was to lead people in, and the other one was to lead people out of the temple area. Okay, but let's get back to the tour.
But this is like the bonus thing I have for you. This entry was significant because it connected the Temple Mount to the city of David that would be below. We'll go there in a moment. So during Sukkot, a very important holiday for the Jewish people, the priests would gather water from the pool of Siloam and bring it up to the Temple Mount. And they would enter through here. And they also found a lot of mikvahs in this area. So as people went up towards Jerusalem, so you had to climb here. If you were coming from that direction, you had to climb this mountain, and then you would climb even more to go to the Temple Mount. You would enter through the Huldah Gate. You would have to cleanse yourself ceremonially, and they found a lot of mikvahs, purification pools where people would clean themselves to perform the sacrifices. So it's quite an interesting place, and they even found steps that are from the Second Temple period. Some parts of this staircase leading to the Huldah Gates is actually original. So a lot of things here. Look, you can see some things here, and this is actually quite an extraordinary place because you can even find things from the First Temple period. And I'm not sure if you can see it now, but there is a drawing right in front of us. Showing you the Solomonic gate. So during the Solomon reign, here was a gate, and it was found by an archaeologist, a woman called Mazar, and she believes that the ancient stones over here are part of a Solomonic fortification. And I made a 3D model of this gate, so I'll show you it. But it's right here. It's in this place called Ophel, and Ophel is a place that is between the city of David, which is here below, and the Temple Mount. So quite extraordinary stuff, you know, from Solomon, 1000 BC. And that's why the Jewish people are rooted in this land. They have always been here, and they have the evidence for it. So if somebody says that the Jewish people are colonizers, are taking somebody's land, well, they have been here long before anybody else alive today. They are the original people. This is their capital. This is their land that was given to them by God.
Okay guys, so here is my render of the city of David from the time of King David. And you can see the ridge upon which the city of David is located with the palace of David. I am still working on this model, and I began the expansions made by King Solomon. Fortunately, I finished the 3D model of Solomon's Gate found in Jerusalem, so we can have a look at it. And this is a massive fortification built by Solomon with a 3-chamber gate. Now, the 3-chamber gates were also found in Hazor and Gezer. And these types of gates, the 3-chamber gates, were specifically built during Solomon times. So when Elliot Mazar made that discovery, it was huge. And of course, I never have time, but I hope that in the coming days I will be able to finish the 3D model of Jerusalem from the time of Solomon, and I will share it with you, so you will be able to enjoy it with me and see how Jerusalem looked in the time of Solomon. I'm remaking all the 3D models I made in the past. I'm upgrading them so they look much better, much more realistic. So I hope soon you'll be able to see them and enjoy them. If you would like to support my work, the best way to do it is through Patreon. So I will leave links in the description of this video so you can check them out and support my work. I will be very, very thankful. But now, let's continue our journey.
So, Al-Aqsa Mosque in front of us. The Huldah Gate again. This is the southern part of the Temple Mount. And I'm gonna cross here to show you where the city of David is. Okay? So we'll get a good perspective from here. Okay. So, here again you can see the descent to the Kidron Valley. So you see how deep it goes and really separates those two mountains. This is the Sylvan neighborhood. It's an Arab neighborhood. Here you see the Mount of Olives, and over there in that direction you see like stones kind of sticking out of the hill. This is the city of David that they found, the original Zion, where David had his palace, where he ruled the 12 tribes of Israel. This is where it all started. This is the beginning of the history of Israel as a nation, as a kingdom in the promised land. So for many, many years, during even the Ottoman era, they didn't know that the city of David was there. But then archaeologists, British, American, started searching, and they found the ancient stones. They found the Hezekiah tunnel, they found the Canaanite tunnels, they found the Millo, they found the foundation of a great palace that was built there. So we can imagine this is where David would be. This is where the Temple Mount would be, where he purchased this plot of land from Araunah the Jebusite. This is it. But he didn't build the temple, as you remember, because he was a person of war, and God said, no, you cannot do it because you are involved in war. Your son will build it. And Solomon then built the first temple. But the purchase was made by David. So again, incredible stories happened here, right where we are standing right now. Amazing. So we will continue, and very soon we'll go to another gate called the Dung Gate. And what's up with that? Why it's called the Dung Gate? Well, we're gonna talk about it, but it's a very important gate today, and you'll see why in a moment. So once again, we're next to the Solomonic Gate on the Ophel. That's the Temple Mount. Below us is the city of David, and we continue. This is the Davidson Archaeological Center, of which I was speaking about, where you have a lot of important sites from different time periods, and it's worth checking out because there's some cool stuff in it. I'll show you a bit as we go through the Dung Gate. So, see here the Al-Aqsa Mosque. The Al-Aqsa Mosque was much wider at some point when it was built, but there was a huge earthquake that demolished part of it, and now it's a little bit smaller. And actually there are some cracks in this structure today, so at some point, if it's not going to be strengthened, it may actually collapse. Well, that would be quite a news, because this is like the most important site for the Muslims in Jerusalem. It's not the Dome of the Rock, it's this mosque where they believe the Prophet Muhammad went into heaven. So this street here, you see the sign shows you the direction of the city of David. So the entrance is right there. I'll show you in a moment. You'll see some of the flowers. That's where the flowers are. That's where you enter the city of David. So it's very close to the Dung Gate and the Temple Mount, obviously. But there are also some cool archaeological findings I'll show you in a moment. So look at those giant stones, look how big they are. That's my hand, and it's giant. So there's gonna be a lot of development around the city of David in the future. So it's gonna be changing quite a bit. And right now, they still need to do some archaeology on it, finish up digging and excavating before they can actually turn it into a nice park of exploration. One part of it, of the city of David, is already kind of done, but there are parts of it they're still working on. So I'm gonna try cross the road here. Maybe I'll use the path, which will be safer to do. Okay. Once again, a perspective on Mount of Olives, the Al-Aqsa Mosque. And here you can see some of the excavations done. So that's the other part of the city of David over here. And just look how deep it goes. Just goes on and on. Very, very deep. And they're still finding new stuff. They just found a rock scarp that ended here, where you have the end of this this wall section. And what they found is that there is a very deep ridge between here, so the Temple Mount, and the city of David.
Okay guys, so let me illustrate what I mean by the ridge. So they found this ridge over here, between the city of David and the Temple Mount, which is here.
And they believe it's quite ancient, which was done for protection of the city from this side. So to protect the city, because this is higher, they dig up quite a large ridge that protected the city from the north. And it kind of changes the models of the city of David we had till now, because this is just a new discovery. So they're working on that. On the other side you have the city of David, which is already mostly excavated. But there are also parts of the city of David where they find new stuff, including a temple from the first, from Iron Age, so the times of David even. That was like Temple 0 before Solomon built his temple. So, and some even trace it to Melchizedek times. But new things are found every day. So, this is where we have our next gate, the Dung Gate. So that's the main entrance now, but I want to show you something else before we go here. So, when we come here, so before we go to the Dung Gate, which is here, I want to show you something here people don't see very often, because there's another opening in the wall here, another bonus gate for you today. Let's see. Okay, I think we have to go here. So here is the direction. You can actually go from here to the Davidson Archaeological Park. So, see in the distance the Dung Gate, and here we'll see another opening in the wall. So initially the Dung Gate was very narrow. And you can see here that this was part of a medieval fortification system. Okay, so what we see here is an ancient fortification system. You see here the foundations of a tower that stood here. So a tower was just next to this wall, and it was a protective tower, defensive tower, and it was one of the entrance also to the city over here. So that's why we have it here as a reminder of this opening to the city. So those stones are a reminder of it. But of course, this is not the main gate today that you go in to the temple, the Kotel area. We go from the Dung Gate over here. But this is also quite interesting here, because if we come here, we have another part of history. You know, it's like history upon history upon history, it never ends. So this is, what you see here is an ancient road that goes even further in time. This is from medieval, from Byzantine time, from Roman time. And this was part of the Roman road that was here. So the main road was the Cardo. This is another part, another important road that went through here.
So guys, this is showing you a view of Jerusalem in Roman Byzantine times, and you can see two big roads in the layout of the city. One road was called the Cardo, and the other one was called Decumanus. And right now we are standing at the beginning of the Decumanus road from the Byzantine times.
So amazing, a tower from medieval times. Then we have like Byzantine period over here. So history upon history upon history, and it never ends. And over here is the main entrance to the Davidson Center. So if you want to enter, you can either enter from this gate, which I showed you, this opening in the wall, or you can go through the Dung Gate, which we'll visit now. So let's go through the Dung Gate, and we'll spend a little bit of time in the Western Plaza, but we will continue because we still have two gates to talk about, and that's the Zion Gate and the Jaffa Gate. Two last gates that we need to see today. Okay, so let's get out of this area and we'll go through the Dung Gate. So I could have went to the Dung Gate from the other side, but I want to enter it from the outside, as I've done with the other gates, so it's not confusing and it's in the same style. So the Dung Gate is interesting. It's a gate, and the name of it derives from the fact that there was a gate in Nehemiah time, very close to the pool of Siloam, and this was the gate where the remains would be taken out. The trash also from the city would be taken out and burned in the Kidron Valley. So we read in Nehemiah 3:13-14 about this kind of gate, and it's fact that it's located very close to the pool of Siloam. And as you remember, we have the city of David over there, and below it is the pool of Siloam. So that's why we have this name for this gate. Originally, when it was built by Suleiman, this was a really small gate, and you couldn't really enter a vehicle through it. It was very, very small, a meter high, I believe, a meter or a meter and a half high. And then it was expanded in the Jordanian times, and eventually it was also expanded by Israel. So now it is possible to go through this gate using a car, But you can't go really far because this is basically the Western Wall Plaza. So you can kind of get into here, drop off people, but then that's it. You can't do much more. So just for comparison, that's the wall opening over there, and the Crusader Tower behind it. Here is the Davidson Archaeological Center. So you can see it from the other side of that wall sticking out of the Temple Mount. Over there below, behind that wall, we have the city of David, and this is the Temple Mount. So what is sticking out of the Temple Mount is the Robinson's Arch. That was an arch built here. So not only you had gates to the old city, but you also had gates to the Temple Mount. And that arch, the Robinson Arch, would create like a giant staircase that would lead people into the Temple Mount area, and that was one way you could enter the Temple Mount. Now, usually what you could do is that you could continue going until you reach, let me go the other way, until you reach the Western Wall Plaza. But today is Shabbat. I mean, it's not done yet, so you can't really record there, so we'll not enter. But normally you could enter, and there's a famous Western Wall where Jewish people pray, and you could have, there's also a synagogue there under a giant arch, which was part of a Wilson's Arch. That was another opening to the temple. But anyways, this is it. This is where you enter. There are two entrances, one for men, one for women.
Okay, guys, just to give you a clear understanding where we are in correspondence to the Second Temple. So we're looking now at the western side of the Temple Mount. So in other words, we're looking towards the east. So behind the temple is the Mount of Olives. So here, showing you with green color, you can see where the modern Western Wall is located, which is part, of course, of Herod's fortification. And you can also see where we are located in correspondence to the Western Wall on this 3D model of Jerusalem from the time of Herod. But what is cool is that right next to the Western Wall, there is a synagogue that you can enter. It's a little bit hidden if you don't know. But this synagogue is pretty unique because, first of all, it's right next to the Western Wall, and also it's under a giant arch, of which foundations of this arch are actually from Herod's time. And this arch in Herod's time would hold up a road that would lead into the Temple Mount. Today this arch is known as the Wilson's Arch, honoring the guy that found it. So this is it, you can see it now, and this is the synagogue under this arch. So this is kind of cool, but let's go back to our trip.
And over here, what you see are the remains of a Roman destruction of the temple. So all those stones, those were brought down, they were destroyed. They were pushed to the street that was below. So the street level in the second temple would be where you have those stones lying, the base of it. That's the level of the second temple period here. But it goes even lower and lower as we continue this street. So on sides of the street they found shops where things were sold, as people were preparing themselves to enter the temple. Okay, but I did an episode about this, so I just wanted you to show you, because this is quite an important place. We are now in the Jewish quarter, okay? So this is already a Jewish quarter, and you can see the difference, you know. Everything's very clean, very nice. You see the Huldah synagogue in the background. So a very different feel than the Arab parts, of which we spent most of our time today. So this is already very, very different. So now we will continue, and now we'll have some climbing to do. So we'll go up there and we'll finish our descent, I mean the first part of it, next to the Zion's gate, okay? So in the end, I'll tell you how many kilometers we did together. So I'm thankful that you joined me for this tour. I think I will have to divide this episode because it's gonna be very long, but I might also put on the whole episode just so that you have a continuation and you can see everything and see it, you know, in parts. So we'll continue our journey up the hill, up to Zion, to Mount Zion. Well, not really, because Mount Zion is the city of David, but we can say it like that, just to have a little bit more adventure. Okay, so now we're gonna have a small change because we're not gonna go right next to the walls. We'll go on the inside of the walls. And the reason for it is that there's gonna be better views if we take this route rather than outside the roads. So we'll end up next to the Zion gate, but on the other side of it, so inside the walls. But we'll be very close to the line of the walls, so you'll still be able to recognize the location where we are. So once again, Dung Gate. This is where we last finished. This is the Mount of Olives. It's a good view from here. And we will climb and climb, so the views might get better and better. So once again, in Dung Gate, the opening in the wall and the Mount of Olives. Now we can see the Dome of the Rock, Al-Aqsa Mosque, the Kotel area, the Western Wall, Plaza over there, the Davidson Center over here. So the Solomonic Gate would be on the other side of the Davidson Center. So try to climb up here. Yeah, I think kind of have to. Maybe not, because I don't want to get stuck. So behind people. So I'll power through this, and we'll be able to see some stuff very soon. So usually this place is busy. I mean, it's busy with people, with pilgrims. This is the main descent to the Kotel area that pilgrims take. But it's very empty now. Not a lot of people. So once again, see in the back we have the Mount of Olives. And now we are going from Jewish quarter to the Armenian quarter. So we started with the new gate, which was in the Christian quarter. Then we spent a lot of time in the Muslim quarter. And now we were just in the Jewish quarter, and we'll finish up in the Armenian quarter. And the Jaffa Gate is like the border between the Armenian and the Christian quarter. So here we have another view of East Jerusalem over there, and we're going in that direction. See the tower, the big dome. So that's Mount Zion, traditionally, of course. I always say that. What you see here in front of us is the place where tradition says that Peter denied Jesus 3 times. So that's the place. And you see, again, over there, behind this mountain, this is already the Judean desert. And we're very close now to the Zion Gate. Why it's Zion? Well, it's Zion because that's where the Crusaders fought. This is the Zion mountain, the Zion of the Bible, where even the city of David was. Well, then we found the city of David, and this kind of lost its meaning. But people still recognize it as Mount Zion because of the long, long tradition of this name in this place. So here's some of the bells of the churches in the background. Again, it's empty. It's empty here. It's also the Shabbat, so it's a holiday. People, mostly Jewish people, are resting. So again, it's a sharp contrast between the Arab neighborhood we were visiting and now the Jewish part, which is very different. The shops are closed. People are just enjoying their free time, walks. So a very, very different atmosphere. So now, right in front of us is the Zion Gate. So this is already, here begins the Armenian quarter. So again, this shows you that shops are open, right? Because it's not Jewish, it's Armenian. But there isn't a lot of tourists to buy. So not a lot of business going on now in Jerusalem. So the Zion Gate will be similar to what we saw at the Damascus Gate, that it is shaped like an L. Again, this was done for defense purposes. So the horses the charging army would not have the impact as strong, because they would have to make a turn inside the gate once they force the doors. So again, some of the information about it, it's pretty much saying all the same. There's bits that are different. For example, the King David's tomb, the traditional site, of course, because King David was buried in the city of David, and not necessarily here. So let's try to cross. I see how difficult it is. So even people have problems today crossing this gate. So it was done on design, and that was the point of doing it like a letter L. See, a car can't go through. So no chariots, things like that. They would also have problems. So there are some groups visiting Jerusalem, but they're not really from Europe or America, mostly from South America or Africa. Now this is a sight to see. You see all those holes in this gate. Those are remains from the War of Independence. This gate was heavily protected by the Jordanians, well equipped by the British, and they were able to hold off the Jewish forces that were trying to conquer it. But they were not able to do it, and the holes in the walls in this gate are a reminder of a fierce battle that happened here. Now, so in the War of Independence, which was 48, they were not able to conquer the old city. But then in 37, as we talked, they did conquer. Regained, let's say, the old city, and that's the Lion's Gate. So not this gate. This gate is a kind of like a failure of the Jewish army, Israeli army, but then the Lion's Gate is a gate of victory. So one more gate, guys, one more gate, and our tour will be completed. So not far to go now from here to Jaffa Gate. So we came from there. That's the direction of the Dung Gate, the Western Wall Plaza, and that's the Zion Gate here. And we're still in the Armenian quarter. But a lot of Jewish people pass through this road, because it's also a road to the Western Wall. So you'll see a lot of Jewish people also passing by on their way to pray and to go to the yeshivas, to go to their homes. So it's a Armenian and internationally known road, because a lot of people want to go there too. So those flags you see in front of us, this is a flag of Armenia. Now, Armenia, of course, is quite an interesting place. First country to take Christianity as an official national religion. Also the site of the mountain of Ararat, where it is believed that the Ark of Noah landed. So an ancient nation, with ancient traditions, ancient language. Quite interesting. Of course, today in a country in big troubles, they're surrounded by Turkey and Azerbaijan, and that's a tough neighborhood for them because they're Christian in the middle of a very Muslim countries. So there are some disputes with Azerbaijan about the Karabakh mountain ridge. So Turkey also, you see all those flags, that's Armenian flags over there. Turkey also, well, you gotta say this, they committed genocide on the Armenians. Like over 1 million Armenians were killed. So, of course, Turkish people probably would disagree with this, but many scholars say it's true. So, it's a lesser known history, much less than the Holocaust of the Jewish people, and smaller, of course, but still a significant massacre. So you can read more about it if you're interested. So a lot of churches, Armenian churches here. You have a lot of seminaries that are also in this location. So thank you so much for your attention and that you came so far with me. I hope you enjoyed this walk. It's very, very long, and maybe some parts were not as interesting to you, but thanks to this, you'll have a better orientation of the gates in Jerusalem, their location, the walls, how the city is designed today. So I hope it was helpful, and you can always rewind the parts that interest you the most and come back to the parts that are less interesting for you when you have more time. So this is like the fastest way to the Kotel, the Western Wall, but we go this way because this is gonna be a place where we have the last gate that we want to talk about today. Some more Armenian flags. Armenian taverns, restaurants. So if you're hungry and like Armenian food, it's pretty good. I had Armenian food. I had Georgian, Armenian. They're kind of a little bit similar, but it's good food. They have very, very good food. So you can try it. And here we are now next to the Tower of David. Why it's all called David? Well, there is another tradition which says that David had a sanctuary here. In this spot where you see this tower, this is actually foundations from one of Herod's towers that he had next to his palace. This is actually a location of Herod's palace. So there is a tradition that David had a sanctuary here, and it's actually a Muslim tradition. So it comes from the Quran. But again, in the time of David, probably nothing was here. Everything was in the city of David. So it's just a tradition. Now it's called the Tower of David. So if somebody will tell you, we'll be next to the Tower of David, don't come to the city of David, come here. And this, of course, fortress was here. First it was a fortification done by Herod the Great. Next to his palace you had 3 towers. Then the Romans took it over. Then the Byzantine took it over. Then the Muslims took it over. And so on and so on. But the culmination of our journey is just in front of us. So you can see it now. That's the Jaffa gate. And that's the last gate on our journey. So we're gonna finish up the story with this gate. So if you go this way, that's the Christian quarter over there. So the new gate would be that direction where we started. This is, and 2 important figures went through this gate. First, the Ottomans. You see, like there is an opening over here. So you have a wall, and then there is an opening, and you have a gate. So there is a discontinuation. And the reason why we have this is that the Kaiser in the 19th century was supposed to come to Jerusalem, and the Ottomans decided to open up this space for him to easily enter Jerusalem. And you see there is a road right here, and cars can come today even through this, because they can't come through the original opening of the gate. It's just for people. But it opens up here. That's the Tower of David complex, and that's sometimes called the Hebron road, which goes south to Hebron and Bethlehem. So there's a very good museum in the Tower of David. I highly recommend it. So let's just have a view on the Jaffa gate. So this is the entrance. If we continue this way, this is the Jaffa road over there, the modern road. This is the Western Jerusalem, and this is the Jaffa gate. So again, it's an L-shaped gate. This is a mezuzah, so it's quite a big one. And you have one more on the other side.
Jay, why don't you go ahead and count? Here she is. Okay.
So how it looks from this side. So guys, it's almost the end of Shabbat. It was a nice walk we had. People are now going to the hotel to finish the Shabbat, to pray for the evening prayers. And I will also finish. So thank you so much for your attention. Thank you for being with me on this journey. Let me check how many kilometers we did. Let's see how many we did. Well, I can tell you how many steps I did. 10,000 steps. So not so much, because we kind of spent a lot of time, but we stayed at certain places. But this journey is quite difficult if you're not in shape, because you have to go up and down, up and down. So it's not like very easy. But anyways, thank you so much. I am sending my greetings from the ancient city of Jerusalem, the city of God, the city of the Jewish people. Wish you all the best. Please subscribe to the channel, like this video, and give support if you think that this is something good. So I'll try to make more of those if you guys like it, and I wish you a good week. Shalom.
Okay guys, just to summarize, let's once again see all the gates we saw. So we saw the New Gate next to the Christian Quarter, then we saw the Damascus Gate at the Muslim Quarter, we saw the Herod's Gate at the Muslim Quarter, then we saw the Lion's Gate also at the Muslim Quarter, and the Golden Gate. So that was the first part of the trip. And in the second part, we saw the Dung Gate, the Zion Gate, and the Jaffa Gate. So, thank you for your attention. I hope you enjoyed everything. Have a good day. Shalom.